Okay, so I'm ready to start adding my block letters into these boxes. So I've drawn each letter above roughly what I want it to look like, but make sure you are using a ruler for all parts of this process. So I'm gonna start with my A over on the left-hand side. And I'm gonna start with thinking about the legs of the A, the two bottom shapes there. I want each of those to be about 1 inch wide. And so my box, remember, is 3 inches wide. So I'm gonna make a mark at the 1 and a mark at the 2. And this line I've kept. That's gonna come really into play here as you're doing your letters, because what I'm gonna do is I'm going to connect these 2 points to that halfway mark to divide my A here. So I've got the bottom section of my A started. Now I'm gonna come all the way to the right and all the way to the left to close off those 2 areas. I'm gonna use the concept of parallel lines, and these rulers are really awesome for doing that because I can line it up with the red lines on this ruler and see through it and make sure that when it's lined up, I am making a parallel line like so, and I can do that on the other side as well, all the way to the top. Now I've got the shape in the middle of my A left. I could match it to my diagonal lines on each side, but I'm gonna make it simple and do a square for that shape in the middle. As long as you're using a ruler and you're making things accurate, there's lots of different ways that you can do these letters. So there's my A. Okay, and I would erase later on what lines I don't need, which would be my original box lines, maybe part of that middle line. I only want to leave the letter. That's why we draw lightly, because we erase later on. Okay, so my R. So for the A, I did 1 inch wide for the bottom legs of my A. I want to keep it the same for my next letter. So I always start at the bottom because the R has 2 legs as well. Marking at the inch and the 2 inch mark. Again, I'm going to use all the way over to the right of my box, all the way over to the left. And this horizontal line dividing it in half is going to be really important for placing the top half and the bottom half of my R. So to form the first leg here, I'm just going to make a vertical line that meets at the halfway mark. And I'm going to connect this one to that line I just drew as a diagonal line. I'm going to line up my ruler to make sure I have a parallel line coming from the corner, and I've got the bottom half of my R done. Now, for curves of letters, I've got a curve on the top half of my R here. Curves, I'm going to let you do your best to very neatly freehand it, but something you can do if you don't want to do curves, I could have turned my R into a more block style R. I could have made this into a box, a rectangle shape at the top. I will let you decide which works for you, what would look better in your project. I need the shape up here in the middle. I'm going to line that line up with the bottom part of my leg here. Make it 1 inch by 1 inch square, and then I'm going to match this curve over here as best I can there to make it consistent. And I've got my R. Again, I would erase lines I don't need. My T, again, starting at the bottom, that's the way I find easiest for me. I'm going to make a mark at the 1 and at the 2. That's going to be my bottom rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and draw those vertical lines going all the way up. They are parallel, 1 inch wide. Then I have a rectangle, a horizontal rectangle on the top of my T. That's also going to be 1 inch wide. So I'm going to mark 1 inch down from each corner on the top, and I'm going to draw a horizontal line to complete my T. So this one I really have to pay attention to where I erase so that it actually looks like a capital T. and I get rid of those lines I don't need, and I would erase the box as well. So there I've got my block letters put together.